I was in the front yard, backyard, and a couple of birds flew in front of me. And they kind of were singing, but for some reason I just knew that's a songbird right there. Those are songbirds, and I looked it up, and I was right. But apparently, there's different kinds of birds that are in the category of songbirds. So I got two sources. One of them I use a lot. The other one I just did for a little bit. So the first one is from The Pagan and the Pen. That's pen as in PEN .wordpress.com. And that one says that songbirds are symbolic of solitude and poetry, as well as spring. The songbird is a protective spirit closely associated with, of course, music. The Navajo have an interesting myth about the creation of songbirds. More recently, sailors adopted the habit of tattooing a songbird, or a swallow, that's what they use, for each 50,000 miles sailed. Some Norse myths depicted swallows picking up fallen soldiers by their shoulders. Soldiers by shoulders. Alright, some Norse myths depicted swallows picking up fallen soldiers by their shoulders. There's a fairy tale about a king who cages a songbird, hoping to protect it. The songbird dies and is replaced by a mechanical bird. I ain't really going into too deep of any of those. I wonder what the Navajo myth about the creation of songbirds is. I'm going to load up the internet while I continue reading. So, this one was deeper, but this one goes into the lark bird, which is, it's a songbird. Because I guess there's not a lot of songbird stuff online. Of course, you'll be installing updates. All right. Spiritandsymbolism.com says that the lark bird is a delightful songbird, and it's a symbol of spiritual growth and transformation associated with joy, hope, and appreciation for life's special moments, something we can all benefit from. The lark bird is rich in Native American symbolism and is considered to be a messenger. It is believed to represent new beginnings and joy. Oh no, kick me out. Symbolic messages tied to the lark are understanding, clarity, creativity, optimism, and hope. It can be seen as a reminder that brighter days are ahead, and that even though times may be turbulent now, there will come a time when things lighten up. It conveys the importance of paying attention to spiritual guidance while simultaneously enjoying ourselves in the present moment. Indeed, its symbolism encourages us to embrace joy with both arms and have faith in our own abilities. The lark bird holds rich symbolism throughout Eastern cultures, particularly in literature. In Indian mythology, the lark symbolizes love and a sense of devotion. In addition, it is believed to act as an omen for only the best of fortune, inspiring faith that all will be well. In Persian culture, the example of a graceful and cheerful lark is used to illustrate an elevated state of elation, similar to that experienced through prayer or meditation. The Hindu poet Kalidasa regarded the sweet songs of the lark as appropriate offerings to one's immortalized ancestor spirits. As such, it has been deeply intertwined with spiritual beliefs for hundreds of years, creating tangible connections between our earthly realm and that which lies beyond. Let's see this recording. Yes, it is. The lark bird has been a symbol of Christianity for thousands of years, appearing in traditional paintings and songs throughout the globe. Its story begins in the Old Testament, in which it was commanded by God to lead a choir of birds. I don't remember reading that. I gotta go back and check it out. The lark was also seen as a representation of rebirth and new beginnings when Jesus rose from death on Easter Sunday. It's more widely known as the bird with its head waved up towards heaven and singing praises to God. This powerful symbolic motive has endured throughout history, continue to be depicted with messages of faith today. The humble lark symbolizes our relationship with the divine and is an enduring reminder of our spiritual connection. The lark symbol has a long-standing presence in Celtic culture, representing a variety of meanings throughout the ages. The lark's cheerful song and beautiful plumage have made it an iconic figure to many cultures around the world, serving as an inspiration to writers throughout time. In Celtic symbolism, the lark takes on a powerful representation of optimism and inheritance, with its lush feathers providing an indication of prosperity and well-being. Not only that, but the lark bird is often associated with protection in battle, standing for courage and strength in times of difficulty. Whether being celebrated in poems or featured in artwork, Celtic culture always reveres the courageous and elegant figure of the lark bird. Lark birds have a special significance for the African culture. Often seen as a messenger of good news, larks feature in several traditional African stories and symbolize life and joy. In some cultures, the song of the lark singing in the morning is thought to bring good luck for the forthcoming day. These small birds with their melodic voices also signify hope, connecting to the African culture to the beauty of the natural world. They are admired for the resilience and revered by many indigenous African societies who revere uplifting birds such as this. Lark birds remind us that no matter how difficult things seem, joy is always possible if you listen carefully. The lark bird has been associated with spiritual meaning due to its impressive characteristics. For example, this small bird often sings as the sun rises, heralding a new day. Many interpret this vocalization of joy as an exhortation for us to start each day with enthusiasm and optimism. The lark is also seen as a symbol of freedom and renewal, representing letting go of restraint and embracing change. Its song speaks of the beauty and potential that comes from letting go of stress and worry, energizing ourselves with new possibilities on the horizon. All in all, the lark serves as a reminder to embrace life's joys, no matter how big or small, as we journey forward into whatever the future may bring. Throughout history, the lark bird has been seen as a symbol of good luck, as many cultures have believed that encounters with this species could be interpreted as good omens. For example, in ancient Greece, the lark was considered to be divinely blessed, and both Homer and Virgil wrote of watching larks rising up into the air in their poems. Further connections between the lark and the supernatural can be found in Nordic folklore, which tells tales. I like how they write, because it's a challenge to read. Tales of humans finding treasure after carefully observing where a lark lands after flying around their heads 3 times, clearly indicative of a blessing from above. Even today, people still place faith in these old superstitions, continuing to consider appearances from this species an illustration that something positive is yet to come. Alright, so I wanted to see what that supposed Navajo myth of creation of songbirds. Let's see what happens. Navajo myth of creation of songbirds, because that one site said it was interesting. Yo, shout out to these fucking, I'm not getting no money for this, but V8, feeling great. Had to cut back on the other ones. 1, because I'm not using Amazon anymore. 2, because the only place that sells them is kind of far. 3, because this is just tea and less caffeine, and it is what it is. Because the other ones were like 160, right? This was only 80. And I don't drink as many. I was drinking like 4 of those. I was drinking a lot of caffeine per day. I really cut back. Well, I take another swig. DuckDuckGo fails me. So let's try this on Google. So thank you. Top one, Songbird creation. Oh. Alright, let's see what. Yeah. It has it. It talks about different, I guess, different people's theory of songbird creations. Alright, so this is it. Modern science tells us that birds evolved from dinosaurs. Other stories are told too, such as this one from the Navajo creation story, which tells us about the creation of the smaller birds. It is said, and this is from fatfinch.wordpress.com. It is said that that Monster Slayer went to his mother, Changing Woman, that's her name, capital C, capital W, to ask where he would find the bird monsters. At first, his mother refused to tell him, fearing that her son would be killed by the awful bird-like monster that lived in those days on Bitai, the rock with wings, now called Shiprock, in northwest New Mexico on the Bilagana maps. But Monster Slayer was insistent, and eventually she told him, and he set off, intending to kill those monsters. The bird monsters had 2 chicks, and like all bird chicks everywhere, they were ravenous and kept their parents busy all day, every day, just feeding them. But the parents brought only people for them to eat. The 2 adult bird monsters flew over the land, grabbing living people, flew back to rock with wings, and then dropped the victims from a great height onto the huge rock where the chicks could feast on the bodies. Which is why Monster Slayer set out to find and kill them. Finding them turned out to be easy. The male monster bird saw Monster Slayer coming from miles and away, and after making 3 passes at him, grabbed him in his huge talons, flew high above, I'm just reading it, so there's some typos, flew high above rock with wings and dropped him on the rocks far below. But Monster Slayer came prepared. He had an eagle feather his father had given him, and he used it to float gently down to the rocks. Once there, he cut open a bladder of blood from a different monster he had slain, so blood flowed over the rocks as if Monster Slayer had already died. Satisfied that his chicks could now eat their latest meal, the male bird monster flew off in search of more food for them. But the chicks were in for a surprise. As they approached Monster Slayer, he leapt up and demanded that the baby bird monsters tell him exactly when both of their parents would return and where they would land on the rock with wings. Terrified, the chicks told him their father would return with the next male rain, and their mother and with the next female rain. They also pointed out exactly which rocks their parents would land on. Soon a male rain came with its lightning, thunder, wind, and hard rain. The male monster bird returned as foretold by his chicks, and Monster Slayer killed him by hurling a lightning bolt right through him. Later, a female rain with its soft, gentle, quiet rain arrived. The mother monster bird arrived, and Monster Slayer killed her too. The baby chicks started an awful howling, fearing that they were next. But Monster Slayer saw that they were still little and could be turned into useful birds, so he made one into an eagle and the other into an owl. But now it was late afternoon. The sun was declining in the west, and Monster Slayer was stuck high up on the rock with wings with no way to get down. Just then he spotted Batwoman walking on the ground by the great rock, and he called to her, asking for her to help him down. But Batwoman did not want to help because she thought of herself as being very ugly, and she did not like for others to look at her. Eventually, though, she agreed to help Monster Slayer down based on his promises to her that she could have all the feathers from the male monster bird with which she could adorn herself and become beautiful. So, Batwoman, I didn't know this became a DC story. Just kidding. So Batwoman helped him down, though not without trouble, because Monster Slayer kept ignoring her commands to keep his eyes shut. After he was down, he gave her all the feathers, which she put in her basket. I promise this is almost done. But she did not want Monster Slayer or anyone else watching her put the feathers on and become beautiful, so she started walking off toward a field of sunflowers. Monster Slayer warned her not to go that way, but she ignored him just as he had ignored her when she told him to keep his eyes shut. As she walked, something fluttered in her basket, but she kept going right into the field of sunflowers. Suddenly, birds of all kinds started flying out of the basket containing the feathers of the monster bird. When she realized that all those birds were coming out of her basket, she tried to stop them but couldn't. Finally, she gave up trying to keep them in the basket, set the basket down, and just watched as all the birds flew away. They flew away as wrens. They flew away as warblers. They flew away as sparrows. They flew away as titmice. All of them flew away until her basket was empty. And there she sat in the middle of the sunflowers, as ugly as she ever was and as ugly as she would always be. Which is why it is said that bats are still ugly and fly only at night so no one can see them. Synchronicity. I think they're cute. I just saw one. Whoa. And that is where songbirds come from. So I guess songbirds were one of those feathers. We leave it to you to speculate on the question, how did this creation myth, which was told long before modern science, discover that birds evolved from dinosaurs? Oh, know about the monster birds, from which, according to modern science, which are dinosaurs, is what they're trying to say. Interesting. Whoa. It says that the entire story of the Navajo creation story about small birds can be found in Zolbrod, Dying Behind the Navajo Creation Story, UNM Press, 1984, pages 230 to 241. Very interesting. I love it. I love learning shit. Love it, man. 25 lighters on my dresser. Yes, sir. I got to get paid. Hey, 25